Hello, everybody. Welcome to the sixth season debut of Real Early. I see why you guys talk first before you guys go on.
It's okay. The hosting thing, I get it. I get the jitters.
I was getting pretty good at it, I think. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the season 6 premiere of Real Early. I'm your host, Larry Sternshine. This is also episode number 50, and it is only taking me 6 months to get there, but I finally reached what I think is a pretty sweet milestone of episode 50. Um, 6 months ago, I was getting a little burnt out trying to get guests, trying to come up with new things to do. I was like, you know what? It's the holidays. Let's take a break. But now I'm ready to go. Brand new, fresh episodes. Except for this time, I am rejoining with somebody for episode 50, a past guest. He is Max Deering. Hello, Max. How are you doing?
I'm good. It's a little bit past 4 p.m. Went and saw a movie earlier. Yeah, it's pretty good. Got some pizza planned for later tonight. Maybe one or two more movies. Maybe I'll show Seuss Close Encounters for the first time. Maybe I won't. She's sitting across from me playing a video game, so I'm trying to see how much I can provoke her.
Yeah, in case people forget, you are in the Netherlands.
Yep.
And we actually had a set time, and I screwed up the time zone. So I'm glad it worked out, and we're able to reconnect and get you on. And you said you saw a movie today, so you might as well let us know what movie you watched.
Blue Heron. Um, an indie film. I'm blanking on the name of the director. I think her name is Sophie. It's her last name. I'm really blanking on, but it was very good, very sweet, very melancholic, very sad. Now that when I'm
Oh,
okay, he's all right. Um, when I'm thinking about it, it was excellent. Like instantly one of my favorites of the year. But it is a very just sort of melancholic film. It's this drama film about this family. It's about a little girl in this family who is she's a bit more perceptive than one might think, or maybe she's just as perceptive as any other child, but she's noticing the troubles that her parents are having with one of the oldest children. And so it's kind of about memory and time and the limitations of being a parent and what you can and can't do for a teenager. And it hops towards the present day, and it's very, very, it's excellent. It's just so sort of it's sad. It's sad. Um and it's a good kind of, not a good kind of sad, that's not it. But I really recommend it. It's fantastic. Uh yeah. Yeah, so I saw that today. I saw that at noon.
was that in the theaters over there?
Yeah, I think I saw it came out rather recently. So it's been on my radar because I heard people talk about it for the past year or so. So I wanted to see it, and I have, well, still up for debate, maybe plans to go see Master of the Universe, but we shall see. That's for the show tomorrow. I'm waffling. Um,
Why waffling? Just because you want to do something else, or you just or don't want to go see it?
Not, well, sort of also not see Master of the Universe, but also I have other personal stuff going on that I might not, that might stop me anyway. So that's why I'm sort of thinking if I might, if it's worth going out for the 2 hours and 30 minutes that is. Um, but it's fine. Like I got to the movie I did want to see, which is Blue Heron, because out here we have I know like in the States there's AMC, what is it, AMC Plus, AMC
A-list?
A-list. Yeah, so they have AMC A-list or Regal. Um, what's the Regal one?
I don't know. That's a
Oh,
good
okay.
question. Probably
Well, whatever.
probably the Regal King. I'm guessing maybe they got the King.
Yeah. Um,
If they don't, they're missing out on easy
mm,
icon after free.
yeah. So out here they have a cart. It's called Cineville, and Cineville, you pay $20 a month, and you can see any movie at the smaller sort of art house theaters for free.
Oh,
So you just pay $20 and unlimited, basically free movies to the none of the multiplexes. So, and the multiplexes really just consist of, I think, a Canopolis and a Pathé, maybe a View. But if they have Cineville, you can if they have a partnership with Cineville, free movies. Um, so we've actually been really exercising that for the past year or so. So that's why I went and saw Blue Heron because that's playing that has like one or two showtimes of the couple of art house theaters we have, and they had English subtitles. It's actually mostly in English, a couple of Hungarian segments, but that's largely it. So we've been really trying to use that, and then occasionally when the those same art house theaters play a quote unquote bigger movie, so like they're playing Obsession, they're playing Mother Mary. They're playing what was that one I saw? Was it last week? It was Back Rooms, those sort of things. And then they'll also play like a Project Hail Mary or a Weapon. So I'm been out here for almost 10 years and I still can't figure out what theaters get and what they don't get and why some theaters get certain films, why they get other films or whatever. Like I barely saw Return to Silent Hill because it was playing at this now closed theater and
oh.
they were playing it for like a good month, but only like at 7 o'clock at night. Um, and nobody else was playing it. And I'm like, I guess I'll go to this crummy theater. And yeah, but that was a long with the way of me saying so. We use our Cineville card a bunch to try and go see movies because it doesn't cost anything, and then all we have to get is like a coffee or a candy or something. So
Yeah, I think the best thing a movie a theater did the last 5 years or so are we're creating that sort of membership
yeah,
uh card. Because I've seen so many more movies in theaters I never would have went to, and it really does give you the ability to check out a movie that you maybe wouldn't normally go see. You
yeah.
know, I might not be a somebody that might normally like Blue Heron, but if somebody recommended it to me and I could go see it as part of my 4 movies a week, for example, I would go see it. And I've
Oh
seen so
yeah,
many
that's
great movies that way.
the A list is only 4 movies a week, right?
It's 4 movies a week, but I mean
That's
that's a lot of
crazy.
movies though.
No, that's fair. Even I don't go 4 a week. I think I average 1 to 2 a week at the theater. It really depends on what's out. Lately, it's been about two a week. Um, but yeah, I suppose if you're going 4 times a week, I mean, but yeah, fair enough. Uh,
It used to be 3 though, and they raised the price a couple bucks and gave you
mm,
4 movies. But I've done some
yeah,
double features, which back when I was growing up, um, especially when I got to be in high school age, I would do a lot of double features, uh, legally. It would
yeah,
illegally, really, because I would go see one movie and then sneak into the theater for another one afterwards, and sometimes
mm,
we just make a whole afternoon of it. And now I don't have to feel guilty about making a whole afternoon about a movie with the A list.
mm,
Uh, but the other thing too is uh, some people don't like this, but I love that you have assigned seats. So when you go into an app and you see what seats are taken and not taken, then you can sneak into a movie theater if you wanted to. If you rent out your 4 movies,
mm,
then you can. Then nobody's gonna be like, "Oh, you're in my seat." Great,
fair.
telling you. Anyway,
Yeah, I both miss the assigned seating, and I no, we do have assigned seats out here for the most part. I sometimes do miss the just sit where you want, and then sometimes I don't. It really depends. There are most theaters do the assigned seating, but some don't. But I really miss the butter popcorn. Oh man,
they don't have
butter
butter.
popcorn or a hot dog. Like, give me a hot. I can't. Nobody does hot dogs out here at theater. It's a shame. Like I can't even get a pretzel. I don't even like pretzels, but like butter. They have popcorn. It's just either salt or sweet. I'm like, can I get some butter?
They
Like,
don't have butter
man,
on their
no butter
popcorn.
popcorn. No butter
Oh,
popcorn.
my wife cannot go see a movie there. She loves her butter popcorn. That's okay.
Yeah, if I want to go to like a 10 a.m. showing, I have to like make sure I eat actual food because if I go to theater, it's like my options are popcorn, nachos, and candy, and it's like, can I can I get a hot dog, please?
Can we talk about how
Um,
nachos are the worst movie theater food?
are they? I would.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Because
I don't
first of
know.
all, they're loud as hell, and then you've
It's no
got
louder than someone digging in some candy.
oh, it's the loudest snack in my opinion. And then plus when you try to get the cheese and it's dark, Sometimes you miss, sometimes it drops them on you.
You know what? I'm gonna chalk it up to a failure of American packaging because I never miss my dip. I'm always in.
That is a skill. Don't
Yeah.
miss, not missing the dip. All right. So the last time you were on, you had just gotten your master's in film.
Yeah, that sounds about, yeah, it would have been 2023,
Yeah.
and I would have just probably had either I had my graduation ceremony or was about to have it, or I just had it, and I think I just had it because I would have been, I think, here in October. So that sounds about right. Yeah.
How has that gone for you? Has that um kind of put your foot in the door anywhere, or is it still kind of a
Yeah.
self accomplishment more than anything?
Yeah, that's it's probably the latter more than the former, unfortunately. No, I mean it hasn't really yielded any substantial career opportunities, which is unfortunate. But I guess on the plus side, um, where that did not come to be, I did at least I have started writing on the freelancing every now and then. I'm not as like a go-getter grinder as much as a lot of our friends are. That's mostly because I'm cognizant of where my location is, and then also the multiple collapsing industries and consolidations going on around me, which is unfortunate. But I'm smart enough to know not to just give it my everything because I just don't live in a. I don't really cover movies in that sense, and then also it's just I don't because I don't live in that area. The Dutch are very weird about their movies. In a manner that I can both speak to and really can't speak to. It's just they're odd. They're odd people. Um, but then so I try to just every maybe couple of months I try to write something. A lot of my stuff recently has been through Neon Splatter, but yeah. So last year because I just wanted to keep my noggin sharp, so to speak. So last year I went to Pete Volk, former editor of Polygon, and he published my piece on Sinners and the Black Vampire in film. And then I went to Fangoria. I've gone to Discussing Film. I went to Neon Splatter. Um, and it was sort of my goal to branch out to other publications, but I haven't really been inspired to write anything specific. And also, again, it's hard to figure out who is, taking pitches and whatnot before, they get bought up and it's like, hey, we can't do this pitch anymore. Um, but yeah, so it's like it's nice for me because it's a bit of a what do you call it? Like a I'm keeping the stone wet, so to speak, or the sword sharp, as it were. But in the other, respect, it is unfortunate. I haven't been able to find any real work out of it. And it's not to say the degree wasn't useless. Because of that, I'm able to talk about, these movies more. And I think to some extent that also helps me on our show A4E with Mike, Vice, and Liam. I think I've gotten much better at talking about film, even though I still hate myself and how I talk and how I sound. But I'm trying to get better at it. I'm trying to be nicer to myself about it, and hopefully along the way, Liam doesn't bust my balls because I dared to make an unranked list with Shelby Oaks at the top when it wasn't actually at the top. It was unranked. He'll never listen to this, but still.
Yeah. So you brought up Action for Everyone, the
Yeah,
podcast. You are the producer
yeah.
of the show, which was probably really helpful to Mike, who was probably just like doing everything. Can you tell us how that kind of came about and how you got the role and how that's helped the show out?
It's funny. I've actually been thinking how exactly I did come to Mike with it. I have to assume I went to him because I don't think he came to me. I might have to actually ask him. Um, and he might not even remember. But I know that my first actual appearance on the show was the weekend of what am I, 30? It's 2026, 3 years. So 3 years now. I would have came on the show the weekend of my third 27, 8, 9, 10. I can do math. Math is good. It would have been the weekend of my 27th birthday because I saw Godzilla minus one that weekend for my birthday, on my birthday. And then Mike had me on the show and we talked about Godzilla minus one. We also talked about John Woo's Silent Night. because I saw that too. So actually, it might have been the following weekend. But regardless, we talked about those things. And, I had, um, I think during that year, I established the A4E Discord as well. If it wasn't that year, it was in 2024, but I did that and had long been a long time listener. For me, the fun thing about the podcast was they put it out on Sunday. I listened to it Monday morning on my way up to school. So that was actually what I would use to pass the time in between. But that was the first time I met and talked to at least Vice and Mike. I think I actually talked to Liam a month beforehand because we had a podcast with Lindsay for Schlock and All where we did Godzilla All Monsters All Out Attack, I think. No, I think it was that one. Yeah, and then Beyond Skyline. Um, but that was my first time to talk with Mike, and yeah, from there I can't really remember exactly, but it was brought to me to could I edit the show, and I think the thing that helped was I was working with Gene and Diego from the Waffle Press, and I was doing clips for their show, doing odds and ends there for them. And so I already had that in the bag, and then was just talking to Mike about it. And the show, I mean, he said it before in the Discord, he said it elsewhere. It doesn't actually require that much editing. It's quite literally we record the show, we pull it out. If I absolutely have to cut something, like something somebody wants deleted or anything, I will, but like I don't have to. So the show takes maybe 5-10 minutes for me to actually cut out and get ready to upload. It's the uploading and the socials that take forever because I gotta make sure I have all the right characters. I gotta put everybody inside the show notes and what that like that's the stuff that actually takes a while. Um but he brought me in, I appeared on the show. And initially I think I was meant to be more so like um chime in when I need to, sort of like what's his name from the town that producer Craig, but I think Mike just liked me, and so he tried to get me to talk and be more active. And I do. I still sometimes wrestle, sorry, with how the dynamic works, but I think we've all found a way in that they just laugh at me. So it's like, oh, okay, I'll take that. um, but no, it works out perfectly, and yeah. So I started doing that. Um, I edited, and then now, like I said, I'm just a full-time producer where I come in, and I'm basically like the fourth chair. Um, and yeah, yeah. So that's how that started, and then obviously through the show, that's how I ended up meeting Pete Volk, and that's how I started writing last year. So, and also, I reach out to guests, whether that be regular Joe Schmoes or the Katie O'Briens of the world, um, and that's. I actually have an entire master list of guests to reach out to that I haven't really been touching for a bit just because with how the show has been the show's still going, but like I haven't really touched it yet. But yeah, so I kind of do a little bit of everything. I do the editing, I produce it, which I guess is kind of sort of the editing. I do the social media, I reach out to guests, and I more or less coordinate the show. I've got like a calendar for everybody. I've got a list of like here kind of episode ideas we could do at some point. That's how we brought about the best rappers turn actor that we did back like in March, I think, with Aaron Newworth. Um, yeah, sorry, I feel like I'm
No,
talking up a
no,
storm here, but I
this
hope I
is
answered
great.
your
Nobody
question.
wants to hear me talk anyway. This is perfectly fine. Uh, but what is your favorite episode that you've done since joining?
Ooh, ooh, yeah, because I know Mike might actually listen to this. Oh, that's a good one. Hmm. I don't know. And the thing is, I don't know because I mostly think of the funnier bits of when someone finds a way to make fun of me, especially when I least expect it. So, a few weeks ago, I lamented, oh, Destiny 2 is being put into maintenance mode. And I'll always think about how Liam, I think it was in 2023, I was like, we got to wrap this show up. I've got a raid. And he made that joke about me you have a play date, you gotta go play with your boy. And it's like, all right, so I think of that joke. Or I think of Stephen Hopkins last year making fun of my Halloween decorations, which is like he and we built up a good repertoire both on the show and in private, but it was just like, damn, like to the heart, like, hey, okay, So that's fun. Yeah, best episode. I don't. Oh man, that's tough. That's tough. I'll tell you, recent was my favorite. Not my favorite. I really liked the Return to Silent Hill episode we did. Obviously, Mike was up there, and we had a very good conversation about that. And I'd like to think he meant it as a compliment, but when he, said I was big braining my analysis of Return to Silent Hill, I kind of I appreciate that because it is a 100% flawed movie. And I just realized the second time I brought it up here, and I'm making it sound like it's my favorite film of all time. It is absolutely not. But it's a fundamentally flawed movie. I would not uh dispute that. But especially these past few years, I've slowly started to realize I actually almost prefer almost incoherent, messy, flawed films that I can pick through and find thematic depth than I do, functionally speaking, like a perfect film. Like I loved Blue Heron, like I said earlier. Um, and it is 100% going to be one of my favorites. But in that same breath, I loved Return to Silent Hill, despite the fact it is objectively, I don't think you do a video for it, but I'm putting up quotation marks. It is not a good film, but it is a film that I think has resonance. Um, and so I've thought about that episode a lot, and I'm actually really thankful people decide to give it a listen to. Even if I take issue with my hosting capabilities when especially I have to take the reins. I still like the conversation that was born out of that, both with Mike's problems with it and with our Diego and what's her name? Oh man, oh I feel so bad. I'm just pulling up Discord just so I can see. Blah blah, making time, making time. Oh my God, where's your name?
Right, you're gonna
Where?
make me edit this episode, aren't you?
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I can't. I should just. Oh, I hated that I had to do that, but I'm like, I can't remember her
It's
name, and it was Sister
it's
Jill.
fine.
There it is, Sister Jill. There you go.
There you go.
Sister Jill. So Diego, me, and Sister Jill, we were definitely on the side of liking the film. But I quite liked that episode because I was able to speak to something I thought the film did, or at least I got out of the film, even again if it's not functionally great. And this also ties back into my quote unquote favorite movie of all time, AVPR, which, if assuming there's overlap between this and Avery, which there definitely is, I think there's thematic depth to that film as well, regardless of, you know, Liam's work on it. But I will not use this to make my soapbox. um, but yeah, sorry, that's a very long-winded way of me saying I really like the Return to Downhill episode I hosted and put together because I like that Mike giving me that compliment about the bullshit I was able to pull through for it. Um, and that's also a bit of recency bias, I think. Yeah, it's really hard to say. I think the things that I'm really thankful for, really thankful. I'm really appreciative of the episodes I helped pull together with especially certain guests, Cynthia Rothrock, Katie O'Brien, um, Stephen Hopkins especially those bigger celebrity guests, just because I like that with how the show has always worked even before my time, that Mike especially gives it such a um conversational and easy and laid back manner. And I think for a lot of these guests, that's really, you know, um, that's different from being asked a million and one questions. The whole idea of the show is we're hanging out, you're with your buds, and I like that overall. So I hope for all the guests that we've had on the show that they feel at ease and they feel like, oh, I could, this is just shooting the shit. Like, I love this. Um, and yeah, so uh, yeah, if I'm going to be nice to myself, I suppose I would choose those and recent Return to Silent Hill episode, and then also just a recent. I wanted to one of my soft goals for myself this year was I was really trying to just dive more into action as much as possible. Not to say I wasn't a person who didn't like action. It's just it was not. I try to keep a more healthier, robust diet of what I watch and I don't watch throughout a year. Um, with Seuss, because she's become such a horror head in the last few years, it's now kind of swapped where she's the one making all the horror recommendations, and I'm like, okay, yeah, but I got these action films I need to watch. So like, so it's sort of like this little back and forth there. Um, but so yeah, that's been one of my soft goals is just immerse myself as much as possible. So I actually really appreciate these last few weeks or maybe month or so now. I've actually been watching a couple of older action films that I can then bring to the show, or the boys will recommend me, and I'll go back and I'll watch and make sure I have for the next week. Just because I like, I think that's the wonderful thing about my place on the show is because I'm much younger and I apparently have too much time on my hands because I ain't got no kids or no real responsibilities, I guess, outside of existing. I try to use that time to fill in blind spots. And I can then bring that to them, and then we can sort of talk about that because they either haven't seen these movies in quite some time, or, maybe they also haven't seen any of these movies. So I actually really enjoy that. See the fact I brought up some of the Dolph Lundgren films I watched. I watched a Steven Seagal film, just a whole bunch of that. And then obviously the big one of recent was I watched City of Violence, and yeah, fantastic movie.
Yeah, it's great.
Absolutely outstanding.
I just
Um,
watched that for the first time too, and I think
yeah,
one of the great things I like about having a community of film fans is when you have a bunch of people who just were like, "Oh, I'm going to also watch that," and then
yeah,
everyone watches for the first time. They kind of talk about it. I think that's
yeah,
what's really great about having a really cool, robust film community. We've talked about this briefly, just just kind of talking, but um, you're saying there's a lot of action movies that you're kind of going to now for the first time because it's really nothing that you kind of watched growing up. When you were growing up, was it mostly horror movies, or what were the genres of films that you really loved the most when you were a kid?
it's funny because I know that I've seen a bunch of like especially older action movies when I was a kid. It's just I can't really account for all of them or the manner that I watched them. Like I saw all the Bruce Lees, I saw a bunch of Jackie Chans, I saw some Jet Lees, but when I try to think back like which ones I saw, it just kind of runs blank. Outside of again maybe like something like a Bruce Lee, but growing up, it's funny. I didn't grow up in a horror household, even though my dad he's such a funny guy because for the longest he said I hate horror movies. You wouldn't watch a Halloween, Nightmare on Elm Street, anything. And but he would love The Thing. He would love Aliens, and I'm like, or Alien, and I'm like, those are horror movies. And he said, yeah, well, they're sci-fi, so they're not really horror. And I never gelled with that. Love, he's my dad. I love him, but I'm like, you realize that makes no fucking sense, right? Like, sorry, you can curse up here, yeah. Sorry,
Yeah,
too late, yeah.
I mean, if you do it a
Um,
lot, then I might have to put an adult warning on it. I don't
but
think
yeah,
there's
it
a
was
single child listening to my show.
fair. But it was one of those things where I was just like I never could square that with him. I'm like that makes no sense whatsoever. So funnily enough, horror was something I think I found partly because yes, I watched Alien, then I watched The Thing, and I watched Predator, probably too young an age. But from there, I kind of started seeking out my own, and I think for me, my holy grail as it was for where I watched an absolute dumb amount of movies was the Sci-Fi Channel. Excuse me. I grew up with that. I mean that was like my favorite TV channel outside of like Cartoon Network when we had HBO or TNT or FX. But the Sci-Fi Network was where I spent my Saturday evenings a lot. Um, because I think I would hop between like you know what it was? I think it was Toonami first, and then 9 o'clock was a Sci-Fi Channel movie premiere. So I watched like and obviously those movies were not always they were Sci-Fi Channel B movies. It was like Manticore, Bull versus Python, Decoys, like just bottom like probably objectively speaking to an extent not good films, but they were very formative for me because the thing was, and I don't know if they still do, no, I assume they don't, but they used to do all day marathons. So like starting at 9 a.m. it was they would like show movies that were thematically aligned with their premiere movie. So if they were doing, for instance, Bull versus Python, we were getting a whole bunch of snake movies that day. So you're getting Python, you're getting Anaconda, you're getting like a rattlesnake movie or King Cobra, like all of that. Or if it was Mansquito was the premiere movie, well then they're showing all bug movies, that sort of thing. So I got a lot of like cheap movie diet from that. And so I think in a way that probably I'm realizing this as I'm speaking it. I think in a way that's probably why I might have a softer spot for films that are messy and don't always functionally work, but I still find like thematic depth to them because these sci-fi B movies probably were not like competent films, and I'm willing to wager if I go back and visit them, they probably don't have much in the way of like meat on the bones in terms of any substance, but I still appreciate them, you know?
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I think a lot of the Sci-Fi Channel, that was where my bread and butter was. And I think through there, that's how I really came to gravitate, I guess, towards more so the horror genre, just because that was the Sci-Fi Channel just played a bunch of horror movies. Um, and then, I watched shows like Supernatural, and to really get to the answer to your question, when we talk about these formative movies, the biggest problem is I can't actually remember when I was younger these watching these movies for the first time. The one I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt, which is not even one I can remember, is just more so because my mom. It's Batman Forever. I think that comes out 95. I wasn't born yet. I was born at the end of 95 in December. And the story goes is that she's in the theater, she's watching Batman Forever, and they play Kiss from a Rose by Seal, and I start kicking, and it made her nauseous. And she could never hear that song without getting nauseous because she just thinks of me in the womb kicking. And even to this day, I'm like, that's like one of the greatest songs of all time, and she just can't stand it. And
Yeah,
so,
that's
yeah, I
what usually
wasn't.
happens when I sing that at karaoke. People also get nauseous, so I totally get it.
Mm. So yeah, I wasn't there, obviously, but I've always loved that song. So that's sort of it's probably the first memory, even though I probably don't actually remember it. I just know I've always loved the song. Um, and then that kind of just bleeds into probably why I love Batman. My dad would say, when I was younger, he'd come home, pick me up from school, sit me in the high chair, put some food on my plate, and I just sit there and eat while, Batman 89 played or Batman the Animated Series, and I'm just like watching Batman like nonstop. Um, which is again probably born for my love of comics. Not that I read them as much anymore, but Batman comics, etc. Uh, yeah, and so those memories I don't have specifically, but I can't tell you the first time I watched The Thing, but I can tell you the first time I showed my mom The Thing, and I remember the look of, abject terror on her face when she sees what's going on with those dogs and she wanted to leave. And I'm like, no, 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 you gotta watch the rest of the movie. I don't think she loved it, but like, I just remember the terror on her face. I don't remember the first time I watched Halloween, but with Seuss, and maybe I even said this the first time I was on your show, but I remember the first time I showed Seuss Halloween. And it was almost maybe like it was both the greatest thing ever and probably for her the most terrifying thing ever. She wouldn't like go outside in the dark for like 6 months because she was afraid Michael Myers was waiting for her. And it was beautiful because I'm like, I didn't know this movie from the 70s could still do that to somebody, and it terrified her. And so I always think fondly of that. Um, More recently, a movie I definitely remember, I say I definitely remember seeing, and sorry, these are a bit more horror oriented.
So,
Um, but like I remember hating I'll Always Know What You Did Last Summer. That's the sequel. No, no, is it oh no, I'll Still Know What You Did Last Summer.
yeah,
That's the
I
sequel. That's
still.
the second. Yeah. And I just remember like that is a bad movie. Don't like it. She she's been getting her horror bag. She's been getting the slashes. We watched the first. I never care for the I still know I know what you did last summer films. Never really care for them. Watch that one. Watch the second one. And she's kind of not really vibing with either. She's like, it's not great. And then the look on her face, because this was last year, when we get to the reveal of Ben's son, and just the joy of the absolute stupidity of that twist, it made her like love the film. And in a way, it made me love it too, but I didn't love it because the film was good or I even liked it. I loved it because the joy that she was expressing was just like, this is ludicrous. This is like, you can tell this is not written by Kevin Williamson. Who thinks of something that stupid and they'll be like, get it, Ben's son? And I was like, fuck you, movie. And she's just, eating it up. So that's kind of where that's where I come from with a lot of these formative movies is that I'm cursed to never remember my first time with them, but I will always remember other people's first time with them. I remember the first time I showed my best friend Blade Runner. I think I watched it like a week beforehand, and I was like, "Wow, this is great." And then I showed them at it at my house, and my mom's there, my dad's there, and everything. They're like walking the background, and they're enjoying it. And then we're done, and they say to me, "I was like, yeah, it's a good movie, yeah, yeah." I drive them home. The second we get in the car, they're bouncing up and down, saying like that was the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life. I think after that day, they watched it like once a month or like every other day for once a month, like just nonstop. They even drove down to Carolina to go see it in 4K. I think they did a double feature of that in 2049. Was that the sequel with Ryan Gosling? I think so. Yeah. Um, they even that's how much they loved it. I think it's still one of their favorite like experiences ever. And I just for me, it's like I live so much more for their experience than I do for myself. And it's kind of sad because I can't always think as an adult I can think about my first time with certain movies, but for those formative, those earlier ones, I couldn't really tell you them outside of what's been told to me. Everything else is just I remember when I showed someone this, I remember when I showed someone that.
Yeah.
Um, I can tell you when I was a child, I had a TV in my room and a VHS player. So I was always watching like the Star Wars films. Um, we had, I think, Power Rangers and Bad Boys on the same tape. So it was very funny to like finish Power Rangers and then next thing you know, you've got Martin Lawrence and Will Smith just like cursing each other out. And I was like, whoa. Um, yeah, yeah. Sorry, that's a very long-winded
No,
answer, but
I got a lot of core memories of watching horror movies with other people, especially my mom, who was very nice to watch some horror movies with me. For example, I saw uh, Summer Party Massacre 2
hmm
with my
that's the one with the
mom,
guitar, right?
the guitar one,
Yep.
which is obviously if you've seen it, it's a very phallic symbol in the movie. But
Yes.
so I'm like younger watching this with my mom for some reason. I think maybe we had been watching something else that wasn't horror, but like, I don't know, she just let me watch like a horror movie. Or when she took me to my first Friday the 13th movie in theaters, which was Jason Goes to Hell, which is such a weird movie. Um,
Yep.
but like I'm always gonna have a soft spot for that one just because of seeing that one at Mall of America of all places
Mm.
with my mom letting me go. And I still have it. I have this magazine that came out around the time that celebrates Friday the 13th. And it's just got like all the kills, has like articles about the final girls from the different movies, all the different people who play Jason and whatnot. So that's always fun to do. So like having those sort of memories of growing up is probably why I still love the movies that I do by having those memories of sharing it with somebody else.
Mm.
So it's cool to kind of to do that now still. But it's like, oh, it's a little bit different. A lot of people I know just already like horror movies.
hmm
So I don't have that experience of like, you've never seen a horror movie. Come on, let's see a horror movie, you know.
Yeah.
Although I do have a friend who gets scared easily. So I'm like, oh, I took them to see Obsession. So I'm like,
Mm.
oh, this is gonna freak her out. Gotta
Yeah,
jump in there.
that's the nice thing with Seuss is, she's she's now sort of become ravenous to just she's always good to watch a horror movie. And so it's funny because like I have to it's sort of again sort of the action films, but also just movies in general where I have to dig deep to remember what's the thing to show you that's like gonna knock your socks off. And with her, it's sometimes she gets there, she's like, I want to get spooky, like I want to get scared. I'm like, oh, I gotta like dig for something. I'm like, I can't always think of something like what's gonna scare you because she's getting slowly to the point where people like you and me and Mike and everybody else are where we're like I don't want to say we're inured to it, but like I I'm so rarely like bothered by what I see on screen. We saw not Backrooms. No, I'll say Backrooms just because that's recent. Or where it's not a film that's laden with jump scares. But like most audiences are still like you do a I don't want to say the cat in the medicine cabinet thing, but like those really simple jump scares that happen I still see that happen with a lot of people, and that's okay. Like that, no shade on those people whatsoever. But Zeus is getting to the point, and she might still have a long way to go, but she's probably getting to the point where you and me and these other people are at, where it's just like, oh, I can see it. Like it never registers anymore. Like you have to really like do something I haven't seen to not to in order for me to have that sort of reaction. Um, so with her, whenever she's like, "Yeah, I want to get scared, like spook me," I'm like, "How do I like what do I do?" So I think it was last year where she threw me the challenge, and I was just like, I don't know what I got, so I got one for you, and I showed her Sinister, and it freaked her the fuck out. I'm like, "All right, good. I still got a mind for it." Or I did
That's
Lake
apparently the
Mungo.
scariest movie ever because of
Yeah,
science said
yeah.
so. I
And
still haven't seen it for some reason.
yeah, I think recommend watching it with the lights off, and you'd be like, yeah, I'm freaked out. Like I think it is a very effective movie. Also, Ethan Hawke, Scott Derrickson, I still go to shoot for. More so Scott Derrickson, Ethan Hawke got shooters. But I did that. I showed her like Mungo. Like Mungo freaks her out, especially whenever she thinks of that ending. But it can be when I'm thinking of like what's a film to really like scare her sometimes, it can be difficult. I think for her, she's fallen into the found footage era. That's what she really likes, and I wrestle against it just because part of me feels like I've seen all the found footage films, so I have no desire to keep going back. Um, so it's almost, and I don't want to, I'm not saying having being with her and having her watch these films is like having a child. That's not it. But it's sort of like the same way when you have a kid and you want to introduce a kid to your those movies you have growing up. It's both one part that, and then also it's a time for us to watch stuff together that neither of us have seen. So it's a little bit of push and pull. But I quite enjoy that I'm able to do that experiment with her. It's getting harder now to think of like something that's really gonna freak her out if that makes any sense.
Sure. Okay, so I do have some other questions here
Yep.
that I thought of. I'm like, okay, how do I make kind of interesting and kind of look back at people growing up or whatever? So, do you remember your very first favorite movie?
Like Unimpeachable, it's in my favorite film of all time, and I remember the first time I watched it.
No, just like like when I was a kid, I would say my first favorite movie was Nightmare on Elm Street, and
Mm.
I just loved it, and that was like I just watched it all the time. I will love the sequels. Couldn't wait for sequels to come out. And it may not be my favorite movie now, or one of my favorite movies of all time, but like that was the first one where I was like, man, I love movies, and this one is my absolute favorite.
Okay. I'll be a bit generic here just because it's on the brain because I talked about it in A4E already. But it was Return of the Jedi. That was the one I had seen the most. It's the one I still think to this day has the highest highs of the series. I love that opening, the little go rescue Han sort of heist. Luke, he's in with the all black. He's got the green saber. For me, like Luke, he's my favorite Star Wars character. His green lightsaber, I'm pretty sure is the reason why I like the color green.
Huh.
Um, and I couldn't nail it at the time, but now, year osmosis of, analysis and then my own thoughts on it. I just love that opening just because it's such a pulpy, like throwback. It's just an adventure. And that isn't to say the rest of the movies don't have that, but it's such a unique feeling watching that opening, that first bit. And then I know people, obviously since then, the middle section can drag with the Ewoks and everything, but I don't mind it, especially because you get to the finale and just that rip-roaring finale of like some incredible special effects in action. You've got the fight above the Death Star, you've got the fight down on Endor, you've got land, air, I'm sorry, land, space, and then you got a sword fight inside the Death Star between Luke and Vader. And as good as the action is in that, the emotional action of it is just fantastic. You've got father and son duking it out, and then the Emperor just like manipulating both in the background, and then John Williams just like writing some of the best music ever to this father son like finale, and it's fantastic. And uh, I don't know if I said it on the podcast, but Diego Crespo, he came out here back in 2023 and he asked me, who were some of my favorite filmmakers? And it was a question I never really like, filmmakers, films, what have you. And it was a question I never really thought about, or I both never thought about, but I did think about because Star Wars, Indiana Jones, George Lucas, Steven Spielberg, those guys especially, but guys like them, they don't really belong on my this is on my favorite movie or my favorite director of all time list because they almost exist above it. Like you're so iconic, like you would overshadow everybody else. So it's like I'm glad you exist, you're always there, but you're not on it not because you don't deserve to be. It's just you're on a different level. So you'll always be my favorites, always, like unquestionable. But I'm never gonna put you up there. I'm sure as I get older, I'll probably change and do that, but still, like Raiders is always going to be a film. If I ever made a top 50 and it's not up there or whatever, I don't expect people to get angry at me, but I would probably just give the caveat, hey, just know Raiders is like definitely maybe, it's up there. I'm just not going to put it up there because I don't need to tell you Raiders of the Lost Ark is a fantastic 5 out of 5 like quote unquote perfect movie. It is.
Yeah.
It's just not. I'm not gonna put it up there. Not because it's not my favorite. It's just it's gonna overshadow stuff I think that actually deserves to be up there. Me saying I like Race of the Lost Ark. Oh, I'm being very daring today. Oh boy, I like bacon on my cheeseburger. I'm being a real, differentiator.
You know,
Um,
I have to say it's interesting to bring that up because um, one of my favorite movies of all time. Usually when someone goes, "Hey, what's your favorite movie?" I'll just this one I'll say because it's easy to say. I know it's true. Is Jaws, which you can. This is not a video podcast, but behind me you can see my wife made me a Jaws blanket. But I'm covering up
yeah.
my fish tank because then you'll just see yourself in it. I have to figure out how to change that. But anyway, um, I love Jaws and I love Raiders of the Lost Ark. And if someone said, "Hey, who's your favorite director?" I don't think I would even think of Steven Spielberg
Yeah.
as one of my favorite directors, even though he is like such a huge part of my love of film, especially
Mhm.
growing up, seeing like some of that great stuff. Um, that is sort of interesting to see. But then when you deep dive into my Spielberg fandom, you find out I have seen so little of his movies. Like, there's a certain period where he just stopped making kind of stuff I was really kind of excited about.
Yeah.
So, like, I need to kind of go back and see some of that other stuff. But
Yeah, no, that's I agree. I'm the same way because I've seen I think the quote unquote big things. I've seen the stuff that you would show a child, not to equate myself to a child, but like I've seen the Raiders, I've seen the Jaws, I've seen the Jurassic Parks, but like a good chunk of this 90s stuff, I still haven't seen Schindler's List. I'm getting there. I know it's gonna be a hard watch.
yeah, I haven't seen
Um,
it either. And I'm Jewish from the North Shore of Chicago.
yeah,
And I remember when that movie came out, there was lines outside theaters of people because it's a very heavy Jewish neighborhood.
yeah,
And I was just like, I don't know. I feel like I I feel like other people need to see that more than I
hmm
need to see it. But I mean, at some point, I need to rip that Band-Aid off and watch
yeah.
it. And I don't
I'm
think at the
definitely
time I
going
would
to.
have really understood it anyway.
Mm. And I think that's the other thing too is um a lot of these films, especially films I haven't seen, I'm not purposely waiting, but I'm sort of waiting to see for the first time, like on theater in the big screen if I can. Like if I was allowed to have all the movies I haven't seen just shown to me in a movie theater and I could just go and do it, I would. You know, I want to talk about a formative movie experience. In 2021, again, I might have told you this last time, but I saw Creature from the Black Lagoon for the first time in theaters. It was in 3D. It was at this theater in Amsterdam. I don't live in Amsterdam. I live 25 minutes outside of it, but we went to go see Creature from the Black Lagoon 3D because I don't think I'd ever seen it. And it was in 3D, and I'm like, that's fantastic. And I saw it, and it just blew my socks off. It was the one-two punch of seeing that, and then a few weeks beforehand, we saw in that same theater the Vincent Price House of Wax, and it like unlocked my love of like, oh wow, I love these old Universal horror monster movies. I love these characters. I love Vincent Price, and watching that Vincent Price film was the reason I suddenly dove into the Hammer horror films. I did my Christopher Lees, I did my Peter Cushings, and I really realized how much I loved those movies. Um, And I'm talking a couple minutes ago about like those classics that is immediate, like Creature in the Black Lagoon. Like I can't tell you how many times I think I've watched that since 2021. It's like that is a 5 star, unimpeachable. Like I would show people that it's not scary. It's from the 50s. I'm sorry, but like it's so good. It's so iconic. It's so melancholic. Like I love it.
You know, it's funny.
And
My brother-in-law, he lives in Florida, right
mhm,
where they filmed some of Creature of the Black Lagoon scenes. So we actually did a tour of
mhm,
this. It was like a boat tour of the swampy kind of area where there's like manatees and all sorts of wildlife. And he
yeah.
also pointed out some of the spots where they filmed some of like the jungle scenes, like in
Oh, that's fun.
Florida. And they had like a life-size fish man that you could take a picture of, and I
Mm,
got a like a little sign for for Creature of the Black Lagoon. You know,
mhm.
so like now it's just like I really think finally of that movie, especially with seeing it when I was a kid, and it's it's really cool creature design, but also now I've seen some behind the scenes stuff, so I'm like, oh, so that's really cool that that was such a big one for you to see on the big screen.
Yeah. And so every now and then I try to make that a point if I can. It's not like it's intentional, but like was it last year? It was 2 years ago. Cease and I we just disappeared for a weekend. We went to go do we to a spa and everything. We did that for a day. And the next day we were like, oh, what are we gonna go do? And we were just walking to Amsterdam and like, we're gonna see a movie and saw a movie. And I just looked what was playing and what was playing, what Providence was sitting there waiting for me playing the 4K restoration of Thief, and I'm like, I've never seen Thief. We're
Oh,
going, and I went and saw Thief. I'm like, this is the greatest thing my eyes have laid eyes on. Like this is, and she's like, it's all right. And I'm just like, I don't tell you, this is pure like artistry, and this is art. Um,
I wish I would have seen that on the big screen because the first time I saw it was a few years ago, and I think I had a different movie in my head, and in many ways, Michael Mann is a filmmaker that is hard for me to get a read on at
mhm,
times. Like I know everybody seems, and especially in our circles, love Miami Vice, the movie, but
mhm,
I just don't like it.
yeah.
And it's just, but like if you can get on his wavelength, man, it's like, and there's other filmmakers like that too, where like when you're on that film, that wavelength, like there's nothing like it. So like seeing Thief on that big screen, because it's definitely a beautiful movie, and be on the same wavelength, that must have been pretty great for you.
Oh, it was I thought I was looking at the eye of God. It's like it's so good. And then I think later that year I watched Manhunter for the first time. Oh yeah, I watched it in the lead up to Longlegs. That I didn't see on the big screen, but I would. And I have to like I have a loose man ranking because there's other man films I still need to watch. Not too many left, but enough. But like Manhunter and Thief are like right there. And then every now and then someone's like, yeah, I'm gonna rewatch The Insider, and just like, oh shit, The Insider, it's so good. And I'm like, I hate that I have to choose. Like, they're all my babies. But Manhunter and Thief, they're like constantly battling for number one because it depends on my mood. Um, but the, this was you're asking about favorite movies. Yeah, I think Thief is officially now probably one of my favorites. Just even though again, even though I'm just like, yeah, but maybe it's Manhunter, and I'm just like, I don't know which one.
You know, it's funny.
Um,
One of the questions I was going to ask is, what is a movie that you've always wanted to see on the big screen, and you kind of just like went into that? But like, what's the next? What's the
I
next
can't answer
thing
that. I
you?
can't answer that though.
What is it?
Okay, last year was it last year? No, yeah. What's this year? 2026? When did we come back? Was it this year? Where I'm trying to think when we came back from I think it was last year. I think it was last year. Last year I saw because I had seen it plenty of times. I'd seen Bram Stoker's Dracula on the big screen, 4K restoration at this theater, and I watched it. I was in love, beautiful, sumptuous, gorgeous movie. But it was also the moment where I realized I now have to put this film on the back burner. I cannot watch you for at least like 5 years. You mean everything to me. I think I've seen that movie like 3 or 4 times, too many in the past couple years. And again, I love it to death. I think it's fantastic. But after seeing the big screen and having my socks blown off, I'm like, it's time to put you away now. I will come back to you later. I will always love you, but you must go. You must be put away in the do not watch pile for a while. Um, that's one I've always wanted to see. And it was sort of for me, it's like when I think of films, there's so many, the films that sorry, the films I want to see on the big screen, I couldn't tell you what they are, at least the ones I haven't seen, because if they happen, they happen. I think I saw Casino Royale on the big screen, but if they happen to do a 20th anniversary screening somewhere around here, you bet your ass I'm going. Like, oh my God, I want to see it on the big screen. But I'm pretty sure I think I had seen it on the big screen. But for stuff where I think I have seen and I would absolutely just like once in a lifetime, let's do it. I would love to do Lord of the Rings again, but I want to do it with a live orchestra. I think that would be my shit. That for me, I think that might be my great big whale is if I could go see all of them uncut, the director's cuts on the big screen with a live orchestra. That would be yes.
Okay, I don't want
That's
to
the
make you
one.
jealous or anything, but I have seen at least the first Lord of the Rings. I don't know if we saw Two Towers.
Mhm.
We definitely saw the first Lord of the Rings with a live orchestra, and it was incredible.
That's
So you'll
yeah.
get it
One
exists.
day.
It exists. Like if like don't skip out because they're only showing the theatrical too. Like it.
You know what? That is a personal hangup of mine where I functionally I cannot watch those theatrical cuts without I can't watch them because there's so much missing that I'm like yeah, I hear you, but I've tried so many times and when I don't get like the Boromir like the added context of Boromir or even the opening like prologue, it's like it's missing so much. I'm just like, wait, go back. You're missing the thing. Go back. And I can't do it.
Sure.
I know Liam, he doesn't like he likes both cuts of Aliens. Maybe it's just me. There's just a weirdness with some of these director's cuts where there's so much stuff that's missing theatrical. I cannot revisit the theatrical because like what's there is too important. So for me, like Aliens, the director's cut, I always have to watch that because if I don't get the added context of Ripley and her daughter dying off screen. Like well, what are we doing here, folks? If I don't get that opening bit with Haley's Hope and the parents being attacked, like no, no, yeah. So that's a personal hang up. I'm sure I will probably break that as I get older. God willing, I get older. But I hear you. It's just like, oh, I think of some of those things, and I'm like,
I get it.
yeah, I would freak out.
I get it. They might because it feels like the extended editions are the ones you tend to get reshown anyway. So maybe
Mm,
you'll get lucky and see it that way.
yeah. But
Um,
what was your other question? I'm sorry, because yeah.
no, no. I was gonna say I saw The Exorcist last night for the very first
Mm.
time. I'd
Mm.
never seen that before, and I watched the theatrical version because I know there's like an extended version, and I was just kind of
Mhm.
curious, in your opinion, if you're going to see a movie for the first time and there's a theatrical and then there's some sort of director's cut, what are you going to seek out and watch for the very first time? I know
On the
mine,
big screen or in general?
just in general.
Oh, that's difficult. I guess it depends on the differences because, for instance, I watched Versus for the first time earlier last month, and I know that at least to Mike and from what I can tell, what I read up online, the differences between the theatrical and the director's cut, it's sort of minimal. There's just more blood. There's not really all that much more in terms of story. So in that instance, it's almost like, okay, I'm probably good. It depends. Do I know the how much big of a difference it is between theatrical and directors?
And I think it's I know there's extended cuts and there's director's
Mm.
cuts. If
Like I would
if
never watch the theatrical version of Kingdom of Heaven without on the big screen. I would always just go do Scott's directorial cut. Like that's just no question.
Yeah, because I think an
Um,
extended cut that you get a lot of times,
mhm,
it's not really a director's cut. It's just like want you to spend money on stuff, and I'm like always going to prefer the theatrical. But if it's something that um this director's like, okay, this is my preferred version, and I have access
mhm,
to the preferred version, I would probably do that first. But I
yeah.
think for me, there's something about seeing the theatrical the first time kind of gets me to that headspace of like, this is what it was like when somebody actually saw it for the very first time, so like I
Yeah,
can
that makes
kind of
sense.
be in their mood. But like you definitely got to see director's cuts. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess maybe I think the thing is, if I'm going to go see it on the big screen, then I will take it as a theatrical cut, assuming, of course, that's the one that's shown. So I think I actually lean more to what you're saying, where, yeah, I guess I would go theatrical because that's how you get it. And then if there's more added value, I guess the thing is, I'm using Kingdom of Heaven only because, like, I've seen both and it's such a night and day difference between them. I can't imagine them doing a 20-year, well, they did it last year, actually. I can't imagine them showing the theatrical cut again. They would just show the director's cut.
Yeah.
So if the one that they show is the one that is the like almost universally praised upon, this is the superior version, then there's no question I'm going to watch the superior version. But if like, it's difference of if there's not really that sort of certainty between two different versions, then I guess I would choose a theatrical just because, like you said, that's the first version. Because again, a lot of these times there's not really a agreed upon consensus. With Kingdom of Heaven, it's very much just like there's a theatrical and then there's Scott's version, which is like it's impeachably like the great. It's better. Um, and then again, there's something like Aliens, where it's like you've got the theatrical, you got directors, you can go either way. Um, and some of these, I fully admit, it's just because I grew up on them. Therefore, that is the reason why I will choose the extended or director's cut versus, uh, yeah. I hope I answered your question.
Oh no,
Sorry.
it's that's a everyone has different kind of thoughts on that particular one. But if it was like if they're like, okay, we're gonna show a 35 millimeter print,
Hmm.
and then it was just like the non-director's cut, I would definitely want to see it on 35 millimeter because that is just
Yeah,
a cool format.
yeah.
Um, Now the other question is kind of related in some ways. Is there a movie that you wish you could see again for the first time?
Is it in theaters or just in general?
Just in general.
Hmm.
I mean, if you can see it in theater, that's great, but that's always not the
Yeah.
case. But
I'll alter your question slightly and just say if it's in the theater if I can walk into it completely blind, see it for the first time. That's tough. Um, my first answer was, well, Lord of the Rings, but I almost don't know if that's true because on one hand, I think I would like them if I watched them right now for the first time, but also there's something very special about having seen that when I was a kid and then having grown up with them. So I don't want to say those. So it's gonna have to be something more recent. Ooh, first time. Ooh, there's too many movies. Too many. There's too many movies in general. There's too many movies to pick from. My first date ever with Seuss was we saw The Thing in theaters. So I wouldn't hate seeing The Thing for the first time in theaters. Also wouldn't hate seeing The Exorcist 3 in theaters for the first time either. Oh boy. Oh, that's rough. I don't appreciate that question.
it's I mean it's a hard one. I think whenever somebody watches a favorite movie of mine for the first time, I'm like, oh, how cool would that be to also experience that with them? Be like, oh man, I'd love to see that for the like if somebody had never seen Hard Boiled from John Woo,
Hmm.
I would love to be like, oh, let's I want to forget that. I want to experience that. So we're like high fiving each other and stuff during
Yeah.
all that cool stuff. Because I think a lot of movies that I loved growing up, I watched alone.
Hmm.
Um, just because that's just the way it kind of worked out. You're at home and cable's on or whatever, you watch movies. So like I didn't. There's a lot of movies I grew up. I would love to watch again with people for the first time.
You know what? Just because it's been so difficult trying to um get them on physical media, I will say not any. I would say a Toho Godzilla film prior to the Shin Godzilla. So anything from Final Wars downwards. So I would say either just because again Godzilla is not something that typically plays in the theaters, or at least those original ones anyway. I would say either the original film 1954 or Biollante or Destroya. One of those three, I think I would very much enjoy seeing on the big screen. Um,
What was your first Godzilla movie? Do you remember seeing?
I can't tell you. My fear is that it's the 98 one. And of that case, I wish I could go shoot myself. But I don't think that's the case.
You're not gonna go watch that again for the first time?
Absolutely not. No, because I had all the Godzilla films growing up. I had them all on VHS. So I would watch those as much as I would watch Star Wars. Um, So on one end, I can't think it was. There's no way it was Godzilla. I don't think my dad would have like let that happen. He probably would have done everything in his power to make sure I saw another Godzilla before I saw the Roland Emmerich one.
Did your
Um,
dad think Godzilla movies were horror movies?
Never asked him, but he would probably say no. Which, to be fair, he in that respect, outside of that first film, he probably would be right. Uh, but
Are monsters and monsters
Yeah,
are
well, yeah,
scary.
but I mean, yeah, no, I mean, yeah,
Well, we're
yeah.
gonna that's when we're getting deep in the weeds about like what is a genre movie, and then we're
Yeah.
gonna want to have that
Like I
conversation.
watched
What
the
would
Ninth
you say?
Configuration the other night and I loved it, but it's like that's a hard movie to like nail down what genre it is. Uh and let alone to sell to people because I can tell you what the movie is, but you'll watch it and you're like, what is this? You know? That's one of the really beautiful things about movies is just like it's I can simplify it for you, but that might not always get across about what the movie is or is about, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I'm actually happy with it. I think I would choose a Godzilla film, one of the Toho Godzilla films. I, it's either the first one, Biollante, or Destroya, just because those are like top three, top tier, like hell yeah, brother, um, films for me. There's also part of me that really wants to say The Exorcist 3. Oh, I would. Oh, it's such a fantastic movie.
I'm gonna finally watch that now that I've seen the first Exorcist, so I feel like Exorcist 3 will work better knowing having seen Exorcist because I didn't realize until yesterday the police detective in The Exorcist is the same police detective in 3.
Yep. Different actor, but yeah,
Yeah, but
same
like
same
same
character.
character. I was like, oh
Yep.
shoot, I should probably
Odds
watch
are
that.
you might not like it. I think plenty of people don't.
I
But
mean, there
I
I've seen that jump scare for my
yep.
whole life because it's always on a compilation
Yep.
or compilation. Um, I could tell you my first Godzilla movie, by the way.
Mm,
I love it. Godzilla versus Megalon. And when I
good
was
one.
just in Japan,
Yep.
and there was a Godzilla store, and I wish I would have bought more stuff. I got like a Godzilla toothpaste, toothbrush holder and stuff, but
Oh,
I
that's
also bought
fantastic.
Jet Jaguar.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Jaguar. Oh man. Love that
Hey,
guy.
look at that thing.
Oh, I love
I should probably put some video.
I don't revisit the Showa films a lot, but I always have fond memories of all their monsters. So King Caesar, Jet Jaguar, um, what's the Hedorah? I love all this because a lot of them are also one-offs as well. Um, love those guys. Love them, love, love. Even though I don't revisit the Showa films that much, I'm much more Heisei era guy. Um, oh yeah, Jet Jaguar. That's my guy. He's great.
Yeah, I wish there was more. I was like, man, if they could do more Jet Jaguar, that'd be great.
Yeah.
All
Uh,
right.
but
Yeah.
yeah,
Look at that guy.
that's
Look how
first
cool this
first one in
dude
theaters. He's dope. Bring him back. Uh,
is.
have him kill Kong. He needs to kill Kong
Yep.
and be Godzilla's best friend.
You know what? I regret not buying a Godzilla and a Megalon, and I could just play the movie uh, as
Hmm.
a almost 50-year-old man. But that's okay. We're all young at heart. Um, so before before we go,
Yeah.
I just thought of this question. It's gonna be like this is gonna be a very hard question.
Oh boy. All right. All right. All right.
But like, if you can give any advice to a young kid who's just getting into movies, right? How would you steer that kid to be a cinephile?
It's not as hard a question as you think. For me, I would say the key is to be open. Be open to any and all experiences, even if you don't understand them. That's something I always try to, and I hope people see that I hold myself to that fire. I hold my feet to the fire about that. But I have always, especially post school and everything, and I've had, one would argue, too much time on my hands. I've always tried to have um be curious and seek out things. You know, a Blue Heron is not exactly something 7-year-old Max would have gone to go see because none of my parents taken me to go see a drama about having a troubled child. Um, but those kind of films, I would never that for as much as I love the what my parents have passed on to me in terms of pop culture and what I seek out, and even my formulation of my own tastes. Something like a Blue Heron, or when I was a kid, or when I was a kid, when I was a burgeoning teenager, I seeked out her with Joaquin Phoenix, Spike Jonze. I seeked out Sicario. I guess that's a thriller, but like I, Sicario and her are not on the same wavelength, but like I started to seek out, these smaller budget. I hesitate to use the word indie, so but like I seeked out these smaller budget films because I was curious, because I was interested. And to an extent, they are still genre adjacent. But my point is to answer your question is, I would say be curious, seek knowledge, because I love genre films. I love action. I love horror. I love when they combine. I love when they're separate. But I also like being robust and seeking most genres. Maybe the ones I don't partake in as much as, like, I don't know, the Christian films or what have you, stuff like that, or the Hallmark movies. Not that there's anything wrong with all of those, but just like I can only watch so much. But I do try to make sure I'm always curious, not just in terms of genre, but in terms of a region of genre. The wonderful thing about horror and action, especially, is they are global. It's not just America; it's Australia, it's Europe, it's Indonesia, and all of these dramas have not just different modes within themselves, they have different modes within their countries. What does an Indonesian action horror film tell you about that country that they wouldn't say in Italy, for instance? And so for someone who's just getting into it, I would say be ravenous, be hungry, and seek knowledge. If you find that there is a genre that you do gravitate to, by all means go into it, but don't be afraid to just look at what is in front of you and what's coming. Look behind you, look way back. I love jumping through times with film because there's just so much you can learn. I love my Humphrey Bogart noirs just as much as I love, my David Fincher neo noirs. Um, all these things are interconnected, and the nice thing about talking with guys like Times Square Kung Fu Frankie, and also with A4E, is I've been watching these old Italian crime thrillers. A few years ago I saw what was he died very recently, French actor, um,
Alain Delon.
Les Samurai. Les Samurai. I watched that for the first time when I went and saw Liam in London. I went to the Prince Andrews, Prince Charles, I think, theater, and I saw that, and I met up with I briefly, very briefly, talked to Toby, British actor, short guy, um,
Toby Jones.
uh, Toby Jones, yes. Saw him and it was like, "Hey, I love your work," day, and he's like, "Thankful," but like, I didn't want to make a big scene. I was like, "Oh my, I forgot it's Toby Jones." Um, but he was there. We all watched Les Samurai, and watching that, watching this time crime thriller Frankie recommended me recently. I draw the line. I see the connective tissue that begets a John Woo. I see who John Woo was inspired by for then John Woo to exist. For now, Chad Stahelski to make his John Wick films. So I see the lineage, and I love charting that path. And a part of that is, as I've gotten older and more in tune with who I am, I realize I like homework. I realize I like learning, which is not something a teenage me would have found. But I think that was why I actually loved school as much as I did was because I quite enjoyed the process of learning. I love it when people give me a recommendation. Hey, Max, watch this. And I'm like, all right, I will. Hence what I've been trying to do with A4E this year is I just really want to, they give me something, I try to make sure I watch it within the month because I care about what they like. And I would like to think they care about what I like. They might not oversay it, but you know. But for me to a young cinephile, I'm just like, be curious, be ravenous. You know, there's so much film to watch, and I recognize you're not going to get to everything. I know there's going to be some major stuff I never get to, and that's sad. I don't have infinite time or infinite money in the world. Wish I did, but I'm never going to get to everything, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But for the time that you do have, for the interest that you do have, I would say seek it all out. In whatever genre you find that you really stick to, love it, cherish it, dive into it, but never be afraid to look beyond because there's as much stuff informing American as much stuff that American cinema informs on each other, you know, they're also taking from not just the people from before, but the people from other countries from before. And it's just it's a beautiful thing. Um, and so I would just always push, be curious. You know, you might look at my letterbox here in the next few days and you'll see, oh, you watched this horror movie, this action movie, and then you're gonna see fucking Blue Heron up there. And I don't know if I'm gonna give it 5 stars, but it's definitely at least getting a heart because I quite loved it. And you're gonna see that and you'll be like, every now and then Max throws on like this beautiful just drama and he's like, this is some of the greatest stuff ever. And no, I'm not gonna watch every drama out there, but like I seek out the stuff that my friends and my peers are interested in, or even the stuff they're not interested in, because I like also form my own opinion. And just yeah, be curious. I am in that curiosity, give things a chance. I say this knowing I'm probably not going to go see Scary Movie 6. Not because I don't like Scary Movie or anything like that. I'm also realizing as I'm getting older, the things I'm not going to go see, and that's okay. And the things that I will go see, even though I don't think I'll like it, but I want to give it a chance because I want to be surprised. I think there's a decent chance I'll like Masters of the Universe, the new one. Um, I just don't know if I'm going to actually have the time this weekend for it. I wanted to give Deadpool movie a chance because I talk a lot of shit about Sean Levy and Ryan Reynolds, but I want it to be fair to them and to my mostly to myself because I'm being disingenuous if I just talk shit and then I don't back it up and say, hey, this thing, this movie, this game, this book, whatever did something right, and I was wrong. Now, that film ended up, you know, confirming what I always knew. Hack frauds, all of them, except Sean Levy, you know, he used to be able to make decent movies. However, I'm still trying to hold my own self to that fire when I'm like, this doesn't look bad, but I don't want to go into this hating it, and I want to be fair to it, um, and to myself, you know. So for me, being a cinephile is a learning experience. I don't really care for the way I wrote 4 or 5 years ago, pithy, you know, joke reviews, because they don't inform me about what I actually thought of the movie.
Yeah.
And so now my reviews are quite frankly probably way too fucking long. And so I've now gone to the opposite end. And I know I'm never going to reread them to some extent, but also I'm getting what I feel about the movie with more than I'm writing, you know, the last couple years versus what I was writing before then. Um, Again, apologies for the long-winded answer. But I would
Okay.
say yes, be curious, be unafraid, and get, you know, go with what you can. And also don't be afraid to jump not just in movies, but look beyond that. You know, there is this conversation going on about the things that our current filmmakers are interested in and how film is now feeding sort of into itself about, oh, I'm just referencing this film or this film instead of this film is referencing this piece of art, this book, this video game, because that's a new media. And so don't be afraid also to jump beyond movies or even just visual media, I suppose, and pull from everything to inform not just what you're watching, but also what you're creating. I hope that was a sufficient answer.
Yeah, no, that's great. I totally agree. I remember before we go, I remember I was at a video store and I said to myself, and this is around 1990, 91, 13, 14 years old. And I said to myself, you know what? I think it's time for me to start watching more adult movies, right? So I'm at Blockbuster at the time, and I look, like, and I see Goodfellas, and I go, oh, this is an adult movie. So I rented Goodfellas, and that there's not much difference between Goodfellas than the genre movies I was watching growing up. So,
Mhm.
but I thought it was a good introduction to sort of like more adult kind of stuff, I guess, because there
Yeah.
is obviously drama and stuff, but there's a lot of like, violence and, that kind of thing.
Mhm.
So I always kind of laugh at like my first adult choice was Goodfellas, but I think it's always important to be like, you know what, I'm going to give that movie a chance.
Yeah.
So I agree. Um, Now, if people out there are feeling curious about what you are doing now, where can people find you everywhere on the internet?
So typically I'm under some version of ODST Spartan on Twitter, Blue Sky. That's about the main two social media platforms. And then I also, excuse me, and I write, like I said beforehand, I write for Neon Splatter, I write for Fangoria, discussing film. Who am I missing? Neon Splatter, Fangoria, discussing film. Oh, the one article by Polygon. Um, so I write there as well. Like I said, very much freelancing. I try to write when I am inspired. I don't really review or anything. I kind of do like anniversary pieces, sort of like, hey, watch this. I just watched this thing. I try to do that simply because it's more quote unquote freeing than it is having to constantly like look for the greatest and grandest new thing or have the thought opinion. And I will say this, I'm not the biggest fan of writing reviews simply because that is an art into itself and I respect the people who do it and criticism is needed, but I wrestle up against because sometimes, especially recently, when I put down my reviews on Letterboxd, I find it difficult to write my review within the first 24 hours. I need time to digest what I saw. I want to read other people's thoughts and help formulate my own. Um, but I try to do that. So that's where I've been like, I don't know if I would be good at reviews. Anyways, I also run the A4E accounts on Twitter, Blue Sky, and over on Instagram. And I am sort of the key holder to the A4E Discord, where I'm usually getting roasted for some reason or another. And also, I edit Scott Mendelson's The Box Podcast, and I also help out with edits over at the Waffle Press.
That's, I think you're doing pretty well uh, since the last time we talked, if you ask me.
Thanks.
Yeah, so it was great catching up with you, Max, and hopefully we could do something again down the line. But I do want to recommend highly to go check out his article he wrote about other uh, films to watch after you've seen Sinners, which is a great article. I'll link it to in the show notes.
Thanks.
I think that was one of the best things I read last year. So I want to make sure other people get a chance to check that one out, and also check out Action for Everyone. It's a great podcast. I've had Mike on my show before, and uh, Schlock and all that you've been on. I have some really amazing friends and all around the world, so it was a pleasure having you back on.
It was a pleasure being here. Thanks so much.
All right, and also thanks everybody for listening. This was episode 50. We'll see if I get to episode 100. Everybody who has made one episode or 1,000 episodes, you are amazing. So again, thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.